These are assembly instructions for my Christmas ornament candy dispenser. This project makes use of these Christmas ornaments. So these are the kind that fit together and have a seam in the center. And I'm only going to use half of one. This is a little tab to put the hook in on both sides. One of them is flush with the edge and the other one is elevated. You can use either one, you just have to install it a little bit differently. So for the first one, I'm using the tab that's a little bit elevated. I'm also using 2 metal brads. So the head of the brad is just under 1/4 of an inch, and these are approximately 1/2 inch in length. And I have 2 of them. I'm starting with a piece that looks like this. So it has the 2 cutouts on either side. It has a hole at the top and it has a scored circle in the center. I'm placing my ornament on top of that panel. I'm inserting my brad into the tab on my ornament and the hole that's at the top of my panel. I'm going to flip my piece over and I'm going to use my Cricut tool just to create a little bit of distance between the panel and the underside of my brad, and that's because my brad isn't flush with the edge of my ornament, so I want to create a little bit of space there to accommodate the distance between that tab and the edge of my ornament. Among the small pieces, I have a little rectangle with a score line in the center. I'm just folding down on that center score line, and then I'm taking some double-sided tape and I'm applying it from the score line to the end of my piece, and then I'm going to flip my piece over and I'm putting double-sided tape from the score line to the end of my piece on the other side. I have double-sided tape from the score line to the end on this half, and as I flip it over I have double-sided tape from the score line to the end on this half. Next, I'm removing the liner from my double-sided tape. I have my ornament tacked down here with the brad, and I want to tack it down directly across. So I'm slipping my tab so that it's right on the edge of my ornament. I'm applying pressure to make sure that it's nicely adhered. And then I'm taking the liner off that second piece of double-sided tape. I'm laying my panel onto my craft mat, positioning my ornament so that it's within those score lines that are on the base. And then I'm gluing that tab down to the base. I need to put my brad in that center hole. It's in the middle of my panel. I forgot to do that earlier, but I can do it now. So I'm just going through the hole and I'm temporarily opening that brad just to keep it secure. So next I have 2 semicircle pieces that have score lines towards the bottom of them. So I'm just folding down on those tabs. And then I'm putting glue on the underside of one of those semicircle pieces. I'm taking my second one and I'm laying it exactly on top. And I want those cutouts that are towards the tabs to be exactly on top of one another on both layers. And then I'm taking my ornament piece and I'm temporarily bringing my tabs together, slipping them into the slots that are on either side. And then I'm flipping my piece over. I'm putting glue on the tabs and gluing each side down onto the surface of the underside of my panel. And so now I'm taking some double-sided tape and I'm just putting it over the brad that's at the top of my ornament. So that's the one that's securing my ornament to the panel. Pressing down on that double-sided tape, and I'm going to remove the liner. I'm also going to go in there and bring the prongs of the brad together. I have a piece that has a hole in the center and then that trapezoid shaped cutout, and I'm just inserting my prongs into the small hole and opening them up again. I'm putting glue as far as I can reach on the underside of my panel and matching up both cutouts on both layers and just gluing that down, and then I'm gluing down the other half as well. So next I have my square panel and I have 2 identical pieces. I'm putting glue on the underside of one of them and then I'm gluing it down to the other, and I'm covering one side in glue and then gluing it down to my square panel, keeping that circle within the scored circle that's on my square panel. I want the notch that's on this panel to be parallel to the bottom of this cutout. So next I have a piece with a semicircle cut out of it and a little circle in the center. I'm going to carefully bring the prongs together on my brad. I've got my index finger in there holding the brad into position. I am inserting my brad into the tiny hole that's in the center of the next panel and then opening my brad flat. And then I'm putting double-sided tape on top of my brad, being sure that none of that tape goes beyond the edge of my panel, because or else it will show through. So I want my tape to be just on the edge and covering that brad. And then I'm removing the liner from my double-sided tape. I'm putting glue all over that last panel that I glued down to my square panel. I'm matching up the hole that's on the base to the hole that's in my dispenser. So I want them to be exactly on top of one another, and the outer circle is flush with the circle that's on my square panel. I'm just going in there and I'm spreading that glue. And so now it spins. So that's open. and that's closed. And so next I have my Santas. Now this is the print and cut version. Those two versions in the file, one that's print and cut and one that's paper piecing. I am adhering my Santas to their bases. The Santas are mirror images of one another so that the Santa can be seen no matter what position your dispenser is in. I'm gluing my Santa down, and I'm doing that with the second one as well. So I'm just making sure that my image is following the edges of the base layer. So next I have these 4 tiny pieces. They have a little score line on them, and I'm just folding up on that score line. And I'm doing that for all 4 pieces. So I'm going to take one of these pieces and I'm just sliding it into the cutout that's at the base. So the rounded area is here on my right, and I have that part that is on my left. And then I'm taking another one of those pieces. I've got that folded part down and towards me, and I'm inserting the second one from the opposite side, like so. So I'm putting glue on the back of that piece that I've just pushed through and gluing it to that semicircle behind it. And then I'm going in behind and putting glue on the other side and gluing that one to the semicircle. So I'm doing that on the other side as well. Got that folded up tab at the bottom and towards me, and I'm inserting that piece right into the hole. Then I'm going from the opposite direction, second one in. I'm putting glue on that little rectangular part and gluing it to the semicircle. And then I'm going behind, putting glue on the other rectangular part, and I'm gluing it to the back of the semicircle. And those pieces keep my semicircle upright. Now I'm putting glue all over the bottom part of my Santa, covering the arch piece in glue. I'm fitting it over my support pieces and gluing it down. And then I'm putting glue all over my second Santa. So this is the mirror image of the other one. And I'm matching up the edges and gluing my Santa right on top, just gluing it all down. And then I have my panel that I'm going to glue to the back of it. I've cut my sentiment out of vinyl and I've applied it to my white cardstock. And then I'm just gluing my panel. The opening of my panel is exactly over the opening in my dispenser. This is the second version. So the difference between this one and the previous one is that instead of the print and cut, I've cut the different layers in different color cardstock for my Santa. So it pretty much goes together the same way. So for this one, the tab on the ornament is flush with the ornament itself. When I'm inserting my brad, I don't have to worry about the spacer. I just insert it directly into the hole in my tab and fold down on my brad. So now I'm going to glue down all the little layers for my Santa. For some of the images, I've used vinyl, and for others, cardstock. One Santa is a mirror image of the other, and I'm just going to glue all my pieces down. So now that my Santas are decorated, I'm going to glue them down to that top semicircle the exact same way.